Welcome to Call to Post, the Off the Bench Podcast Network feature dedicated to thoroughbred racing. Hosting today's show will be Brandon Ferst, and Brandon will be joined by Raider Jim Martinez. Grab some paper, make some notes, enjoy yourselves. Let's talk thoroughbred racing. Riders up.
What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into another edition of the original Call to Post here on the network, where we break down everything that North American thoroughbred horse racing has to offer. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. Mr. Martinez, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. You know, I was going over some of the Santa Anita information, and I felt like we were right back at Del Mar. I'm seeing Joe Bravo, I'm Umberto Rispoli, I'm seeing Florent Giroux came into town for a couple races this coming weekend. It's like a big reunion.
Yep, it's the same faces in a different place. And then, you know, look, in a month, when these races that we're going to be talking about are going to go off this weekend, we will officially be inside one calendar month of to getting to, of course, Breeders' Cup weekend, which myself and Raider Jim will be there on Friday. Unfortunately, I about weekly, I check to see the prices of the Saturday tickets, and they have started to go in the wrong direction, if you know what I mean. So we may be enjoying it like most of you on TVG, but of course, we're not giving up hope. But we will 100% be there on Friday for that Future Star Friday. Plenty to get to this weekend. Santa Anita not only returns, but it returns with a bang. A lot of prep races. And then, of course, we cannot forget about Belmont, who this Saturday has one prep race and then a very big grade one that isn't a win and you're in, but will have some horses that we expect to be running on Saturday at the Breeders' Cup. But before we do get into all of that, a little bit of housekeeping, we will give a full rundown of some of these big summer races here in the next couple weeks. But we are going to talk about, of course, the grade one Pennsylvania Derby that was really, I believe, the premier race of the weekend. Of course, myself, arguably, maybe outside of the owners and connections, maybe I am the biggest Midnight Bourbon fan. And I tell you what, one of these days, that horse is going to get into the winner's circle, and it might cost me, you know, a good amount of money, but eventually I'll be the old crazy guy saying, I told you so. And everyone will roll their eyes like, yeah, finally you told me so. But it was an unfortunate, I mean, not unfortunate luck. There is no shame in losing to a horse like Hot Rod Charlie. Midnight Bourbon yet again comes in second, but nothing to scoff at there. I know Steve Asmussen, I'm still very, very impressed with that horse. A little bit of news. It was extended an invite if it wanted to run in the Longines Classic, and Steve Asmussen has declined that. They'll run one more time late November and then hope for a very strong 4-year-old season. And you can guarantee yourself we will be on board for all of those. But Raider Jim, what were your thoughts on the grade one Pennsylvania Derby ran at Parks this past weekend?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I cleared a window of time on Saturday and I was able to watch the race. And let me tell you, I just don't know what else you could say about Hot Rod Charlie. He just comes out of the gate and I'm not going to say it's an effortless race, but just a smart race. And this combination of O'Neill, Pratt, Hot Rod Charlie is pretty unbeatable. It's almost like Hot Rod Charlie's watching out of the corner of his eye, and he sees that other horse, and he's like, okay, I'm going to let you get a little closer, I'm going to go ahead. And then he really makes it a race. But Midnight Bourbon, you cannot take anything away from that horse at all. Fantastic race all the way around. There was, I will tell you, I don't know if you saw the replay of it or not, but when you've got money on Hot Rod Charlie and you're getting all excited and you're jumping down in your living room and all of a sudden you see those red letters come up that spell out inquiry, it makes one's heart kind of stop. And so my heart kind of stopped for a minute, and then it took longer than I thought it would. Then they started doing the replays and they were saying, well, this is why. And they had Gary Stevens on the TV coverage. And he said, this could go either way, but I'm going to tell you, And it was interesting to hear a Hall of Fame jockey's perspective. You got to understand the size of that animal, and you're coming around the corner like that, and then then it becomes a math and physics thing. He talked about inertia and the weight, and the inertia is just going to make you naturally go that way, and you are going to hurt the horse if you don't let it do that. And as long as you're not taking out anybody to the left or the right, there was nothing intentional there. But wow, I guess the stewards looked at it again and again and again and again. So, but again, good race all the way around. I do like when they have the insight from somebody such as a Gary Stevens. It's just fascinating to me.
Very much so. I don't, there are very few of us out there that, have been in that situation, coming down the stretch on an animal that large. Like you said, it's at some point you're kind of literally just along for the ride. Now, obviously these guys are professionals, and they know how to control these horses. We have seen earlier this summer, obviously Midnight Bourbon did unseat the jockey, and I forget what race that was. That was a little scary, but at the same time, obviously, everyone came out of it okay. Midnight Bourbon still running, obviously, at a very high level. But Hot Rod Charlie, my goodness, a great 3-year-old season, and I don't think it's over yet. More than likely, we'll see what that horse has come later on this year. But without further ado, it is time to kind of open up the bag that is Santa Anita. And as I was kind of relaying to Raider Jim, it's kind of nice, this rundown at Santa Anita. You got 3 win and you're in on Fridays and 3 win and you're in on Saturday. And on Friday, you're going to see the Breeders' Cup juveniles get going. So we got a juvenile turf sprint, a juvenile fillies, and a TVG juvenile ticket to hand out. And then, of course, Saturday, you will see some of the more 3-year-olds and up. Future Star Friday on that Friday at Breeders' Cup is for the juveniles, and it's kind of nice, a little small dress rehearsal. So we'll see the youngsters on Friday and then the more experienced horses on Saturday. But with that, it is time to dive into the first win and you're in on Santa Anita. And look, we're only going to go over a couple of these win and you're in races, but the entire weekend card at Santa Anita is stacked. Once again, this is my time to remind you to give Raider Jim 1090 a follow. He's going to be a great insight for you on those Saturdays and Sundays to kind of break everything down. But Friday, we got race number 5. It's the Speakeasy Stakes. It's $100,000 going 5 furlongs on turf for 2-year-olds. The winner is getting a ticket to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started on the $100,000 Speakeasy Stakes.
$100,000 Speakeasy race. I should probably go to the correct race then, shouldn't I? Yeah, that would be a big help. Hang on one second here.
No worries.
The glasses will help. Okay. Okay, now we're in business. And if you don't mind, I think I'd like to take just a quick second here as we kick off the big Santa Anita fall session. And I want to dedicate at least this podcast to someone who was the biggest fan of horse racing and happens to be the dad, well-known dad of a very well-known radio man in Los Angeles, California. He's the evening talk show host, award-winning KFI radio station, Tim Conway Jr. And let's dedicate this one to Tim Jr. and his dad, Tim Conway Sr., 2 figures at Hollywood Park in Santa Anita. And if it wasn't for Tim Conway Sr., Jr. wouldn't know what he's talking about on horses. So to the Conway family, to my buddy Tim Conway Jr., this one's for you guys.
Awesome.
But let's get to race 5. It's going to be the Speakeasy Stakes, 7-horse field. There is a great horse in here, Miss Alacrity. I think that's the correct way to say it. Ridden by Juan Velasquez, trained by Will Mord. 5-2 right now, but not the favorite. The favorite is actually going to be Forbidden Kingdom out of Kentucky. Juan Hernandez, Richard Mendel is training that one. One of the horses that I'm going to watch for, though, on the underneath has got to be the 7-horse Time to Party. Time to Party is at 4-1 right now, but that's that combination of Pratt and Miller one of the best jockey trainer combinations. And even though at 4-1, I give this horse a chance to not only finish in the money, but a chance to go ahead and end up in the winner's circle. For me, it's going to be Time to Party number 7, Miss Alacrity number 5. It's going to be Forbidden Kingdom, the Mandela horse. And then underneath, you might want to fill in with One Timer, also out of Kentucky.
I really like One Timer here. Very consistent. 2 for 2 lifetime in the winner's circle. One earlier this year. It's had a layoff. There's no doubt about it. Last run was July 31st, so there's been a bit of a layoff. But it's ran back-to-back 80s. And look, for 2-year-olds, that shows me something, as that is, I believe, the top buyer score that any of these horses have ran so far, and he did it twice. So I really like One Timer. Another horse that, obviously is the favorite here, but I've had my eye on is Forbidden Kingdom. And the reason I've had my eye on it, this is a myracehorse.com horse. And I don't have any, stocks or shares in any of those horses, but I've downloaded the app and I found it to be a nice little, positive thing, especially for the young horses, the 2-year-olds. And Forbidden Kingdom was really one of the top offers out there really all summer. And for me, it was, my first year, my first time really kind of looking at things. So I just kind of keeping an eye on things. Dominated at Del Mar in its debut, or at least I don't want to say dominated, ran very well in its win, won by a half a length in a maiden special weight. I will say, look, 2-1, I'm not sold yet, but I think at 5-2, One Timer, ton of value here. I do expect that number to kind of drop down. Once again, I think you're going to see some more people get a hold of those buyer scores and see this horse that not only has the top buyer score, but did it twice. That's key for me, at least on, these young horses, 2-year-olds. You don't quite know what you're going to get. We are late in their 2-year-old season, but even then, even being late, you're only looking at horses that have 2 career runs. And another little positive, I guess, if you want for the Forbidden Kingdom, if you want to go down the lineage route, you have American Pharaoh, of course, as a sire, a horse that, we're literally going to talk about a race later on that is named for that horse. And this is a horse that has a lot of expected of it, and it's 1-for-1 already. It's going to be very, very interesting to see, like you said, Miss Alacrity, to see what that horse can do. I like what it did last time out in the Colleen. Ran a 75. It was on turf. This is, of course, on turf as well. And I think that's probably a reason One Timer isn't maybe the favorite here, is because One Timer hit those 80s on dirt. So, you got to, it's, I don't want to say a head scratcher. Their 2-year-old season, this is the opportunity to kind of find the track or the surface that these horses perform better at. But if this horse can go out and improve on that 80 on the dirt, then I do think One Timer will be successful and probably be a 1 or 2 here. And if that number holds, even 5-2, or if it can get up to 3-1, there's a ton of value in that horse, but or in that race, I should say. But in terms of this, whoever wins this race will be heading to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, of course, on that Future Star Friday. Myself and Raider Jim will be there to check that one out. So definitely keeping our eye on this. Moving on to race number 6 is the Grade 2 Chandelier. You are going to go 1 mile and a 16th on dirt for 2-year-old fillies. $200,000 is the purse here. The big part of this, though, is that win and you're in straight to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I'll get this one started. For me, I really like Electric Ride. Now, once again, look, we're talking about 2-year-olds here. So you have a very small sample size here, but when you see an 85, and then guess what? I know Raider Jim's going to be on board just because of that jockey of Jersey Joe Bravo, who of course rode this horse to a victory, one of his many victories in the summer meet at Del Mar. Won by just a cool 8.5 lengths, dominated everyone aboard. And I think that was, no, never mind. I thought it was Venetian, but it's Valentine that it beat. But anyways, Ain't Easy as well is in the 2 horse. This is another horse that has a lot expected of it when you're sired by Into Mischief. And then you have Philip D'Amato and Joel Rosario. They will combine to see what Ain't Easy can't do. Ain't Easy is 1-for-1 in its career, won a maiden special weight. A week before we saw Electric Ride win its debut, ran a very formidable 74. And then the favorite here is going to be Grace Adler at 9-5. This is a Curlin sired horse. I'm sure you know most people have been very, very familiar with Curlin and his prodigy. With his, and this is a horse that's already won over $200,000. You got Bob Baffert aboard, and this is the Del Mar debutante winner. So, and it beat out Dance to the Music by this is a horse that won by 11.25 lengths in that Del Mar debutante. So really, really interesting here. I will say the one, I guess, value or that underneath pick, keep an eye on Elm Drive. It ran in the Del Mar debutante. Look, it didn't factor in the decision. Okay. It was eased towards the end. And, I'm not looking at that buyer score, but what I'm doing is I'm going back to the Sorrento and looking at this. Now, this horse will have to stretch out for sure, but it ran in 85 and currently 8-1. If that horse can, get around the 80s, I think we'll see this horse in the money, and at 8-1, it's going to have some value there. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? The grade 2 Chandelier Stakes at Santa Anita for race number 6.
Yeah, great call on Elm Drive, because that's one of the horses I've got down as one you want to put underneath on your ticket. Elm Drive got bumped pretty good in that last race, which is why we got the 7 finish in that race. Prior to that, 2 out of 3 times, the last 3 starts were in the winner's circle. So you can't complain about that. Won some pretty good money too. I would definitely keep my eye on the 8-1. It's going to move down a little bit. It's not going to move up, I don't believe. The one that I really think is going to be the in the money threat that you also spoke about is going to be the 3-horse Dance to the Music. Cedillo's on board, 5-1. That's great. That's a great value right there at 5-1 for in the money. And I think number 1, it will probably end up being the 4-horse Grace Adler. And then I do think it's going to go down to, might be a good challenge down the home stretch. And that will be, you're right, Ace Joe Bravo on that 1-horse Electric Ride with Grace Adler coming down the stretch. And who knows, maybe Dance to the Music is going to make it an even better race.
Yeah. And look, you're talking here 2-year-olds. These are the cream of the crop for really the 2-year-old. With, all due respect to Desert Dawn, that's going to come in at 15-1. It costs $5,000 to breed, already well over its return investment. But everybody else is in, 3 figures. Even Elm Drive cost $165,000, and that is chump change compared to some of these. Dance to the Music's around $600,000. Ain't Easy was $400,000, and then Grace Adler, that was a $700,000 horse. So all of these horses. Not a whole lot of them are surprises, if you will. All of these horses are expected to have long, profitable careers. And, this is the time. The 2-year-old season is kind of that moment. It's not do or die by any stretch of the imagination, but you are going to want to see some results. And all of these horses, for the most part, have seen some results. And it is now time to talk about race number 8, the Grade 1 American Pharoah Stakes for 2-year-olds, going 1 mile and 16 on the dirt. The winner goes to the TVG Juvenile and a $300,000 purse. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors of Santa Anita, race number 8, the Grade 1 American Pharoah.
Yeah, Cornish out of Kentucky is the favorite. And again, we've got Bob Baffert running strong on the West Coast this weekend. And he's got Mike Smith in the saddle, 6-5 already. That number is going to just keep getting less and less profitable unless you got a lot of money, because it's not going to stay 6-5, that's for sure. Then you've got Oviatt Class out of Virginia. The DeSormo brothers did great with this horse the last time out, so watch for that horse to compete. And then also, you can't overlook longer, better odds, higher odds at 8-1, the 7-horse Papa Cap, Joe Bravo again, and that is Mark Case horse. That's going to be a great horse to watch. And I think that horse is also going to threaten in the money. And the one underneath that could come in, spoil it, and you're going to have, you know, this is definitely going to make you a little bit more money on your ticket. That's the 3-horse Phineas. Phineas is going to perform very well. Got bumped, I believe it was, if I read right, I think on the correct horse, bumped the last time out. But this is a horse that has done very, very well in 2021. Has had 4 starts in the money every time. A winner's circle, 2 places in a show. That's not bad. That's good racing. And so look for that horse, Phineas, to make a race out of it.
Yeah, this is the Cornish is it's not too often you see a maiden special weight debut with a buyer score of 98.
Right.
I mean, that's very high quality. That's Triple Crown quality. That's an in the money in the Kentucky Derby type run. Now, however, we're going to mile and 16 now. That 98 was on 5.5 furlongs. So, you know, you're going to stretch out here. And it's going to really be a question for pretty much all of these horses. Flying Drummer at 10-1 has run at a mile, but everybody else, and then I'm sorry, OVAC class, or Oblet class has actually ran twice at a mile and won last time out at a mile, beating Flying Drummer. And that's one that I kind of like here. You know, Kent DeSormo, obviously the DeSormo duo, if you will, back at it again. You also have, you know, the sire being Bernardini. That's something that's very, very interesting here. I like Oblet class as well as Cornish. However, I look at the 7-horse Papa Cap. This is a horse that won the Best Pal with Joe Bravo aboard back in August. And, you know, underperformed, I would say, in the Del Mar Futurity, where a lot of these other horses kind of ran. At least Phineas did. Phineas ran to a second place run there. And that's why I agree with you. Phineas right here at 12-1 for a horse that in the Best Pal, which is a grade 2, and the Del Mar Futurity, which was a grade 1. This horse came in second both times. In the Best Pal, it was 4-1, and in the Del Mar Futurity, it was 38-1, and finished both times in second in the money, making you a little bit of money there. Obviously, far off of Pinehurst, at least in the Del Mar Futurity. Phineas, definitely keep an eye on there. But for Cornish, this is a situation where we could be looking at, you know, a 3-year-old to be reckoned with next year. If Cornish can go out and show that it can take the distance as well, because there's obviously a distance or a big difference between 1 and 2 horse race, 2-turn horses. It's all well and fine if you're a 1-horse or 1-turn horse. That's great. But at the same time, if you can't do those 2 turns, you're not going to necessarily be the upper echelon. You're not going to be in those top grade 1s. So we'll find out for Cornish. I expect this horse to, you know, look, if any trainer is going to get a horse ready to go from 5.5 furlongs to a mile and 16, it is Bob Baffert, all the drama aside. And then, of course, you do have, you know, look, the Hall of Fame duo of Mike Smith and Bob Baffert, those two joining forces. That's something that's always going to get your attention in those situations. But moving on, we'll go across country to Belmont. This will be the Saturday slate. Once again, Belmont, plenty of options on Saturday. We have 1 win and you're in. It is the race 8 grade 1 Champagne Stakes for 2-year-olds going a mile on dirt. This is a $500,000 purse, and the winner gets a ticket to the TVG Juvenile, which is kind of essentially the winner of that is almost immediately the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. So a lot of eyes will be on here. And I'll get this one started here as I look through the first time I've seen the money line or morning lines, excuse me. Yeah, the favorite, not a huge surprise, is the 3-horse Jack Christopher. You have Chad Brown, the trainer, aboard there. Another debut of a +90 buyer score. This horse ran a 92. We'll have to stretch out a bit going a mile. Technically, this is only a 1-turn race, as the outer track at Belmont is a little longer than most. So you're only going 1 turn here, but Wilt is another horse here, or WL, yeah, Welt, whatever it is. Anyways, the one horse, this is a horse that ran very well back at let's see, June 17th, or excuse me, July 17th in the Sanford, put up a 90, underwhelmed in the hopeful. And really the betting public, or at least the odds makers, aren't going to really hurt him too much for that, as he is still 2-1. My prankster, though, this is a horse 5-2, ran a 92 in its debut as well, just like Jack Christopher did. Ran it at 6.5 furlongs, a little bit longer. I really like my prankster here, a horse for Todd Pletcher and Luis Saez, someone to definitely keep an eye on, and one that's, I mean, not really a long shot, but the odds could push it towards that way. It's Gunite. This is a horse that has continually progressed. It is the 5-horse currently right now, Stephen Asmussen trained horse with Ricardo Santana aboard. 4-1. It started off, you know, look, it ran a 43. I'm a big fan of horses that have improved throughout, and it has. And we go back to June at Churchill Downs. It finally broke its maiden with the 73, but the last 2 races have been a grade 2 and a grade 1, and it's put up an 81 and a 83. It won the grade 1 hopeful as a 12-1 shot. Only 4-1 here, but I do expect that number to kind of inflate a little bit. You see a lot of 2-1s. You got 1 2-1, a 5-2, and a 9-5. Some of these other numbers are bound to go up a little bit. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the Champagne Stakes at Belmont?
Yeah, small field, great field though. I really think Asmussen has the best horse of the bunch right now with 5 Gunite. I think at 4-1, you've got to have that horse finishing in the money, and it's going to run a lot stronger than some people might think. I do like Jack Christopher. I do like Wit. It's hard to just, it's really a shame, but we all know only 3 horses are going to pay you at the window. And after that, it's all, it's all for posterity's sake if you're able to pick 4 and 5, unless, of course, you bet a superfecta, something like that. But for this horse, I think, this race, I think it's going to be, you're going to see Wit, the 1 horse, Jack Christopher, the 3 horse, 5 Gunite. Those are going to be your 3 in the money. I think Gunite, at the very least, will place, but I think it's going to make it a definite race all the way to the wire and might end up in the winner's circle.
Agreed. It's going to be a great race. It's going to be a great card. It's really going to be a great weekend of horse racing around the country. Even like I said, Belmont, we're just kind of doing a bit of a gloss over because there are so many races. But I mean, I'm just looking at it now. There's a grade 2 earlier on, even a grade 3. But we are going to be talking as well about the only race that we'll talk about on this podcast that is not a win and you're in. However, it is a huge grade 1. It is the Woodford Stakes, going 1 mile and an 1/8 there at Belmont. 1 mile and 1/8 on dirt, I should say, for 3-year-olds and up. The purse here, $500,000. A lot of big names, and I think a lot of horses that we've either talked about in the future or will be talking about on that Saturday at the Breeders' Cup in a month's time. But Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to take a crack at the grade 1 Woodford Stakes at Belmont.
Yeah, small field, 6 horses, but it's the who's who of for this, this particular card, led by the number 2 horse, Maxfield. Maxfield is going to be ridden by one of the Ortiz brothers at 7-5 right now. 2 out of 3 the last starts have been in the winner's circle, 3 out of 5 in the winner's circle for 2021. But in August, Art Collector, the 3 horse, at 3-1 right now. Art Collector, both starts in August, ended up in the winner's circle, and that could very well be the case again on Saturday at Belmont. So I like Maxfield, the 2 horse, Art Collector, the 3 horse. I like 5, Code of Honor, to also finish in the money. Again, it's a small field, so it's not hard to pick them when you've got this caliber of racehorses out there. But Maxfield, Code of Honor, Art Collector. If you're looking for something with a little higher odds, then you look down to the 6 horse Forza de Oro at 5-1. Junior Alvarado is going to be riding that one. William Mott's the trainer, and that's not a bad rider trainer combination. Look for Forza de Oro to possibly finish, spoil things, and get in the money.
Yeah, Art, this is interesting for me. I'm really excited to kind of see how Art Collector runs. This was a horse, we go back to the Preakness a couple years, or last year, I should say, and Art Collector was definitely a contender in that one and struggled. I mean, look, it ran in 91, which is all well and fine, but in the Preakness, it ended up 10 lengths off the lead in that one. And I had a question of, was this horse really healthy? And it struggled a bit again at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, finished nearly 10 lengths off the lead. And I still ask those questions. And I think we finally got the answers this year, as you talked about in August. I think this horse is finally healthy, or at least, look, I don't think this horse has been hampered and the trainers have put this horse in danger. I just don't think it was at 100% to run well in grade ones and grade twos like this horse was doing. It looks like it's getting back to that level. This is a horse that's won $1.2 million. So definitely has the ability. But for me, it's really hard for me to get away from Maxfield, which really Maxfield has only been beaten by Idol, which a horse we'll get to in a bit, and Knicks Go, which is a horse that we've already spent a lot of time talking about. Essentially, other than that, Maxfield has been in the winner's circle. 1.4 million made for the 4-year-old. Very, very tough to get away from this horse. But as you said, that the Forza de Oro is one to keep an eye on. I also have one. It's Dr. Post on the post position, being on the rail and the one hole. Now, normally, in some of these, longer races, the horse on the rail, it might be a bit of a disadvantage, or, how's it going to go? This is a smaller field, so you're not going to have that. And also the way Belmont runs, going 1 1/8 miles, you're still only making one turn, as they have that long backstretch where essentially they're going to shoot you out of. So you have plenty of time to kind of either get to where you're going to go. This has arguably the best late speed of anyone in this race. Maybe Code of Honor as well, maybe a little bit more late speed, which is another horse to keep an eye on. But in terms of the probably top of the card, Maxfield, for me, for sure. Art Collector, a bit of a question mark. Like I said, I still want to see a little bit more in the grade 1 level to really be happy about it. But great options with the Forza de Oro, which is the 6 horse, and the 1 horse Dr. Post, to get a little bit of value in there. You're not going to get too much of that quote unquote value from the Todd Pletcher Irad Ortiz combination, but that is Dr. Post. That Todd Pletcher horse, obviously, and Irad Ortiz, 2 of the best at what they do, and you're going to get them at 6-1. I can't imagine that getting any lower than 4-1, maybe even going up a bit. So the Woodford Stakes isn't getting you into the Breeders' Cup, but we are going to see some of these horses running at the Breeders' Cup. So we definitely wanted to touch on that. But now it is time to look ahead to Saturday at Santa Anita. We have, let's see, 3. Oh, I lost my spreadsheet. Let's go. Sorry, hold on one sec. 3 races on Saturday. All of these are going to get you into the Saturday Breeders' Cup weekend. The first one we'll talk about is race number 8. It is the grade 2 Santa Anita Sprint Championship for 3-year-olds and up. The purse here, $200,000, 6 furlongs on dirt. The winner going to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. As I just pull up the daily racing form for that. Here we are. And just going over the morning line numbers, not a huge surprise to see that 1 horse, Dr. Scheibel, being the favorite at 2-1. You got Mark Glatt and Flavian Pratt combining there. Obviously, the last time we saw Dr. Scheibel, it was in the Bing Crosby, and it got the job done over 8 rings. NCZ Rocket, who will be running in this race. Dr. Scheibel broke its maiden last August. Since then, has not been out of the winner's circle. It won the Del Mar Futurity last year, and then followed it up. It's been a very lightly raced horse this year. Ran in an optional claiming and got the job done over at Canadian Pride. But last time out in the Bing Crosby in that grade 1, got the job done. 2 for 2 in grade 1s. This is a grade 2 technically, so a bit of a drop in class there. CZ Rocket is a horse that we've talked about numerous times over the last few years when we've done this. Last time it ran, finished second to Ginobili in the Pat O'Brien, which was a Breeders' Cup win, and you're in. And then, of course, finished third in the Bing Crosby to, of course, Dr. Scheibel. It's been a little while. You got to go back to April to see this horse in the winner's circle, and that was a grade 3 at Oaklawn. But CZ Rocket is definitely a horse to keep an eye on. This horse has been running in the high 90s pretty much since May of last year, when it got out of, its optional claiming rut and got into the grade 2s. This horse has been in the 90s. But a horse that I think is going to have value, and hopefully it stays here, is Flagstaff. Flagstaff is a John Sadler horse. You got, of course, we got to bring him up, right? Jersey Joe Bravo. It's a horse that's won just over $1 million, has been in the money in 17 of its 21 runs. It is a 7-year-old. So, it's been around. There's plenty of experience here. Biggest, I think, competition here, is going to be the 6-horse Collusion Illusion, which it struggled with, and CZ Rocket. It seems like CZ Rocket and Flagstaff have paired up a lot, and CZ Rocket usually gets the better part of it there. But that 6-horse is the last one I want to talk about. It is Collusion Illusion. This is a horse that, of course, won last year's Bing Crosby, and has had a bit of an up and down 2021. Even last time out, they took it in the Green Flash handicap. They put this horse on turf. It didn't go very well. Obviously, moving this horse back to dirt for this race. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if Collusion Illusion at 4-1, putting the blinkers on, if this horse can kind of get rolling again, and kind of show what we all expected from this horse that's had a bit of a down year. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? The grade 2 Santa Anita Sprint Championship Stakes.
Yeah, great rundown on Collusion Illusion. It's too bad that it's been a year since that horse has performed up to everybody's expectations and what we know the horse can do. And 2021 has just been not a good year for the horse at all. And I don't know that that's going to change on Saturday. I do like Flagstaff to finish in the money, but I also, you can't look past Dr. Scheibel. Dr. Scheibel, there's, I look at the horses, I look at the jockeys, and you would think that I'm neighbors with these guys because I feel like I'm so familiar with them. Oh yeah, there's Flavian. Flavian's going to be riding Dr. Scheibel. And oh, look, there's Peter Miller and Florent Giroux with CZ Rocket. But there it is. It's number 4, CZ Rocket. It's Dr. Scheibel, number 1. Number 1's going to probably be in the winner's circle with CZ Rocket chasing all the way. Flagstaff is probably going to come in third on this one. Vertical Threat. I will watch Vertical Threat. Watch 6-1 on that. I'd take 6-1 right now and put it in underneath on a ticket. No problem. Abel Cedillo is going to be riding. Richard Baltus is the trainer. You just can't go wrong. What a great field. What a great opening day for Santa Anita.
Yeah, it's Santa Anita really at its best, honestly. And it is kind of, we have this weekend, and then I believe we have 4 or 5 at Keeneland next weekend. And then that's it. There will be no more win and you're in races until December, which, we'll obviously be looking ahead to the 2022 Breeders' Cup. So this is kind of, for Santa Anita opening up their opportunity to get all these in, and kind of like, as I referenced before, a little bit of a small dress rehearsal for the way the Breeders' Cup's going to run. You have the Friday, Future Star Friday, if you will, and then the Saturday with a little bit more of the 3-year-olds and up. But this whole card, once again, we're only going to talk about 3 of these races, but there are 2 other ones, the grade 2 City of Hope Mile, and the John Henry Turf Championship Stakes to keep an eye on there as well. But we are going to be talking next about the Rodeo Drive Stakes. At least I assume it's the Rodeo Drive. It could be the Rodeo Drive, but I'm pretty sure it's the Rodeo Drive Stakes. This is going to get you into the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Obviously, we got 3-year-old and up fillies $300,000 purse. This will be race number 9. It is a grade 1, going 1.25 miles on turf to get you into that race. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors of breaking down the Rodeo Drive Stakes.
Yeah, the number 1, number 2 horses for me in this one are going to be the 8-horse Luck at 3-1 right now. Flavian Pratt again. The number 1 horse on the rail is Dog Tag at 4-1. And that is going to be West Coast Joe Bravo. He's not Jersey Joe anymore because he's moving to the West Coast. He has announced that he will be here from now on. He will still travel back east and he'll travel to Churchill and all those places, but he decided he really likes the beach and the sun out here. So he is West Coast Joe now. And then after that, you've got the 4-horse Going to Vegas at 5-2, Umberto Rispoli, Richard Baltas. Baltas has 2 good ones in here. Magic Attitude at 5-1, the 7-horse, a horse you need to keep an eye on the line. Keep an eye on that horse in general. Has had a pretty good run so far. 33% of the runs in the winner's circle, or of his starts in the winner's circle, does pretty well. Has won almost $500,000, which is pretty high in this field. It's one of the leaders in this field. Second only to Going to Vegas, the 4-horse.
Yeah, this is a race where you're going to find, I mean, I think, 5-2, maybe Luck can get in there, or even, Going to Vegas can get to 2-1, but you're going to see plenty of value here. One other horse I do kind of want to bring up to keep an eye on, and I think, getting in the winner's circle hasn't exactly been this horse's forte, but this horse runs in the 90s pretty much, or at least the high 80s, low 90s. Going back even all the way back to last year's Del Mar Oaks, and it's the 9-horse Red Lark. 10-1 currently, it's Patrick Gallagher, but you got Mike Smith aboard. Last time this horse had Mike Smith aboard was at Del Mar earlier this year, and it lost out to Nige Blanche. I'm pretty sure I absolutely butchered that name, but anyways. It's Red Lark really impressed me with that race. It ran in 90. It has a history on turf of running 90s and 91s. It will need probably a little bit more, don't get me wrong, but at 10-1, I'm willing to pay a couple bucks to see if this horse can improve to get in the money. Magic Attitude is another horse that kind of jumps out to me. Going back to May 1st at Belmont, this horse ran in 97 on the turf. And that turf course, which is a little weird because if you look at kind of the way this race or this track is run at Santa Anita, it's kind of a 2.5, 3 turn race course, just the way the turf course is set up. So it's kind of going to be interesting, and that's also why you talked about Luck, and Luck is one of those few horses that it's an American bred horse. But up until earlier this year, it was essentially running in France or running in Europe, at least lately. So, and that's kind of more this style of race, at least the way kind of the Santa Anita track sometimes breaks down. It's kind of a little quirky in that situation. But the last horse you want to talk about, at least I do, is the horse you started off with, and it is Dog Tag. This is a horse that if you're going by buyer scores, it has to be at the top of your list. And the fact that it's a 4-1 morning line horse should at least give you an opportunity that, hey, you know what, this horse can finish, second or third, and you're probably going to at least get your money back in that situation. Dog Tag is definitely a horse to keep an eye on. Going to Vegas, for myself, 5-2. It's ran well, and definitely its last 2 races, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to pay that just yet. It is Rispoli aboard, who by himself is probably a favorite jockey just in that way. But it's going to be a really interesting race. And I can guarantee you, whoever comes out of this and goes into the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, that's going to be a great race. I really feel like the filly division is really stacked, especially on that Saturday side of things for the Breeders' Cup. Don't even get me started on the distaff. Which is hopefully going to get all them. Obviously, Monomoy Girl will not be there, but I think we're going to see a fantastic run in that one. But moving on to the final race we're going to break down today, it is the Grade 1 Awesome Again Stakes. This is getting you into the granddaddy of them all, really, the Breeders' Cup Longines Classic, which is the big Breeders' Cup race, going 1 mile and 1/8 on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up, a $300,000 purse. Looking through this one, obviously all eyes are going to be on Medina Spirit. At the moment, the horse, I believe, is the favorite. Yes, at 5-2. Obviously, Medina Spirit. More than likely, what you remember this horse for is that Kentucky Derby run, with a bit of an asterisk on it. Still kind of waiting to see what happens there. But is kind of a big reason why Bob Baffert is not going to have any runners in the Derby or the Oaks next year. But Medina Spirit is running here. And for a horse that last time out ran in the Shared Belief and really got the job done over Rock Your World, a horse that we talked about earlier, and Stiletto Boy, who is running here. However, keep an eye on the 7-horse Tripoli. Not a huge value at 3-1, but this is a horse that already has a ticket to the Breeders' Cup Longines Classic. It won the Pacific Classic as a 6.5-1 shot at Del Mar, beating out Tis a Magician, who is running in this. And the other horse I do want to talk about is on the outside, the 8-horse Idol. Probably the best late speed here, and already has shown the ability to really run well at Santa Anita. All 3 runs for this horse have been in the money, including its last run was in the Santa Anita handicap as a 5-1 shot, ended up coming in and beating Express Train, a horse that's running here, and actually beat Maxfield, a horse that might be at the top of his class as well. So keep an eye on Idol as well at 5-1. There's plenty of great horses here. Obviously, as I kind of brought up, Express Train. Whenever you see mid-court at 12-1, you know you're probably going to see a lot of very, very talented horses, and everyone's trying to get into the Longines Classic. No surprise that we see these contenders line up here in this one. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the Awesome Again?
Yeah, you can't take it away from Medina Spirit. Good horse, and you should take care of business on Saturday. But I think there will be a race to be had from the number 1 horse, Tis Magician, that you talked about. I think that's going to be a great ride. Again, there it is. Flavian Pratt, once again, Richard Mandela, great combination. I like the 8-horse Idol, as you said. A lot of speed on that horse as the closer. Doesn't back down from anybody. Got Joe Bravo on the saddle. What more do you want? I like Medina Spirit, Tis Magician, Tripoli. I like Idol. And then if you're looking for another one because you want to have a lot of combinations out there, that you want to throw the 3-horse Express Train onto your ticket for sure.
Yeah, this field, probably the best field of the weekend. Maybe that Woodford out at Belmont will be right there. I think maybe this is just more, just the amount of horses here. I might just put it over the top, but this whole weekend is not only going to kind of serve what we're going to see in a month's time when we do sit down for the Breeders' Cup and break it all down, but really kind of setting the stage. A lot of these juveniles, setting the stage for next year. Obviously, look, I talked about the TVG Juvenile, which will be essentially the prep race, or the big prep race for the Derby. You can't forget about the Juvenile Filly, which will be kind of the big prep race for the Kentucky Oaks. And it's going to be very interesting because Bob Baffert won't be a part of those, or at least won't be able to pick up points for those. So what happens there? But in terms of the horses that are running this weekend, especially in that Awesome Again, you're not going to have, and the craziest part about it is there are probably plenty of other races that we don't have the time to get to right now that are also going to kind of be on that level of that card, of the amount of horses, the quality. So with that, that's all we have for you. Raider Jim, final thoughts. Oh, we just lost Raider Jim. But that is all we have for you today here on the original Call to Post, presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench, but we are first. Thank you all so much for listening. Apologies for leaving or losing Raider Jim a little late, but he got everything he needed to. The final thoughts, I'm sure he would have had something great. But we will be back for you next week at the same time as always. So thank you all so much. Now it is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.